He also cut the number of occupational safety and health inspectors to the fewest in history. He tried to weaken mine safety rules. He eliminated overtime pay for 8 million American workers and even wanted to eliminate the minimum wage. And let me tell you, when I say there's about 4 more paragraphs that I'm not reading, there's 4 more paragraphs that I'm not reading.
So my question is, if you are part of the working class in any way, shape, or form, how and why would you ever vote for Donald Trump after hearing that? It just chaps my khakis. I don't know what that means, but it sounds appropriate to say right now. Like, why? And like Bree said, like, I'm definitely no fan of Joe Biden, but he did what he needed to do to score those political points. You know, it's just weird. Like, now when it comes to Joe Biden going down to the GMC strike, it's interesting. Okay, one, let me give credit when credit is due. Okay, I need to make sure I do that, because I don't need Kyle Kalinske saying people are not giving him credit when he does. Like no, let me be the first to say, well, not the first, because this is days old now, but let me say that it is good that Joe Biden went down there to support higher wages for these union members. It is important, because you should already know I'm always down for the cause when people are deserving more pay, when these companies are seeing record profits, when their CEOs is getting millions upon millions of dollars, when they're seeing a 10% increase in their wages every single year. The working people need to see the same, hands down. There's no question about it. Okay, I don't hear no excuse. They deserve more money. So with Joe Biden going down there supporting, you know, the strike workers, that is a good thing. But my only issue is it seems disingenuous. And you can argue, well, you know, if he cares or if he doesn't care, all he needs to do is just play the part. And I get that. But what just I can't just get out of my head is, why can't we just elect someone who has a history of supporting unions, and we'll just do that at the jump start? Like, it just feels like if Joe Biden wasn't down 10 points from Trump, if there wasn't some rumors of Trump going down there to speak to, you know, the people on strike, Joe Biden would have never wouldn't have wasted his time speaking about, because one, presidents usually want to stay neutral when it comes to situations like this. Joe Biden is the perfect example of someone staying neutral. He doesn't want to ruffle no feathers. He just wants to get in, do his 2 terms, and get out for his legacy. Hey, I'm in the history books. That's all I want to do. I don't want to mess this up, okay? That's what Joe Biden seems to me. But it feels like his numbers is not looking too hot. So this is like, you know, like, hey, we need to do something sporadic here. Something that is not planned. We just need to go down there. You know what I'm saying? And the Hill, you know, Bree and the other dude said some really important things. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead, watch this interview or watch this conversation, and let's have our own conversation. Are you tired of people exploiting and embarrassing Black culture? Are you tired of Black folks themselves denying Black history and denying the real reality that Black people have to live through every single day? Are you tired of Black people always constantly embarrassing Black folks who love their culture, black people who want to see black culture continue to rise and progress. Are you tired of white supremacy talking points coming out of everybody's mouths that's always demonizing and manipulating and pushing out propaganda that always hurts black people at the end of the day? Well, good news, I done started another YouTube channel that is dedicated to revitalizing, renewing, and taking back black culture and taking back blackness. All you got to do is click the link down below that will take you directly to my new YouTube channel. Go ahead, subscribe, watch the videos, and like always, let's have that conversation. Now back to the video.
Meanwhile, Republicans have pointed out that Biden spent just 15 minutes on the picket line before boarding Air Force One to head to a fundraiser in California.
All right, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this, Spencer, but the audience has heard from me, so I want to give you a chance to get in here first.
Yeah.
Where are Republicans falling on this? This does seem optically to be a very good moment for Joe Biden, my feelings about him aside. And given that there's such strong public support for union workers generally and these UAW strikers right now, what do you make of Donald Trump's bid to get a piece of the action by going to Detroit?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. In the White House briefing, I believe it was on Monday, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked whether or not the president's decision to go had anything to do with Donald Trump's decision to visit Detroit. She, of course, denied it. But then for probably about 10 minutes, reporters in the room pressed her on whether or not Joe Biden going to stand with the workers meant that he actually stood with the workers and what they're demanding, the pay increase, the reduced hour work week. And she wouldn't say yes. Of course, when Joe Biden got there, he was asked and full-throated endorsement said, yes, I stand with these people and what they're demanding.
Unclear how premeditated that was or how much that was just Biden doing Biden.
We have no idea. I mean, in that situation, he probably thought, you know, I can't say no. I'm standing surrounded by these striking workers who have been on the picket lines for days. But I think it's interesting that they keep pushing, you know, that Joe Biden is the most pro-union president. Of course, he is the same one who said he had reached a deal with the rail union dispute that was going on. But then the agreement that was reached was actually rejected by the union members, and he had to basically plead with Congress to enforce that contract that they had already rejected. So his ability to claim that he's the most pro-union, you know, just because you go to the picket line and don't stay that long, it definitely looked like a photo op. You saw the social media posts from the White House afterwards. It was a very well executed political stunt, for lack of a better term. But of course, it's very much in line with Democrat politics.
Well, let's talk about Republican politics for a while, because while I will agree that there's something stunt-ish about what Joe Biden did, listening to what Sean Fain said about what Donald Trump's record has been with unions certainly makes Joe Biden look quite good by comparison, even if the bar is lower than I think it should be for a pro-labor, most pro-labor ever president. So this is actually some good reporting from The Hill that kind of went through some of what Trump's record was, starting with him threatening to veto the PRO Act, packing the Supreme Court with anti-union judges who have had decisions like the Janus decision, which unfairly allows public employees to opt out of being in their union, but to enjoy the benefits of collective bargaining regardless, stacking the National Labor Relations Board, the government agency responsible for safeguarding the nation's labor laws, with anti-union members and an anti-union general counsel. As President Trump made it legal for companies that violate federal labor laws, including workplace safety protections, to be eligible for federal contracts. He also cut the number of occupational safety and health inspectors to the fewest in history. He tried to weaken mine safety rules. He eliminated overtime pay for 8 million American workers and even wanted to eliminate the minimum wage. And let me tell you, when I say there's about 4 more paragraphs that I'm not reading, there's 4 more paragraphs that I'm not reading.
So my question is, if you are part of the working class in any way, shape, or form, how and why would you ever vote for Donald Trump after hearing that? It just chaps my khakis. I don't know what that means, but it sounds appropriate to say right now. Like, why? And like Bree said, like, I'm definitely no fan of Joe Biden, but he did what he needed to do to score those political points. You know, it's just weird. Like, I need someone to explain to me why they would still vote for Joe Biden and they're just a regular, not no millionaire, not someone who owns their own company, because of course they're going to be 100% against that. But if you're just a regular working Joe like myself, how does any of that intrigue you to vote for a person?
Reading. So it does seem that for labor, for working Americans, whether they're in a union or whether they aspire to be in a union, the obvious choice does seem to be to vote for Joe Biden if the alternative is Donald Trump. Would you disagree? And if you do agree, what can Trump and the Republican Party do to turn that around?
I think it's interesting because there's definitely, as we discussed with Biden, that sort of difference between what he says and how he talks about unions and organized labor and what he actually does. And I think the difference is Trump has never pretended to be the most pro-union president. He doesn't want that mantle. He's not claiming that mantle. And so
he's
you
get pretending.
Basically what you think you're going to get from Trump. And obviously a lot of those things you just mentioned, you know, cutting regulations, cutting things, were part of his larger agenda to cut red tape and federal regulations.
It's a difference between being extremely for something and then not being for something and actively trying to undercut that something. Like, you cannot be for something and still just not try to dismantle it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not for gay marriage, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try to stop it, to try to end it. You know, that's just not my cup of tea. But it benefits other people, so all right, cool. You know, I'm not gonna go out here, you know, marching for it, but I'm not going to try to go out of my way to dismantle it. I'm just chilling, just sitting right in the middle, just minding my business. You know, so if Trump isn't for unions and everything that comes with that, well, then he can not try to proactively try to dismantle it. It's a difference.
And his rule that for every one regulation you put in place, you had to rescind 2 other ones. And it's interesting because obviously the Republican Party has for a long time opposed, especially public sector unions, because you had, whether it was Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, you know, doing what he did there, and you've got governors in South Carolina and other places, right to work laws, things like that. Mm-hmm. It's very much a Republican thing. But when you look again at 2016 and who voted for Donald Trump, it was a lot of people who are in unions who you would not expect to vote for him necessarily based on the record that you laid out and what he ended up doing between 2017 and 2021.
That's such a good point, because I think, and I've said this on the show a number of times, in 2016 he was talking like he was going to be a pro-union candidate. Not so different than how Joe Biden is sounding, specifically nailing both members of his own party and Democrats on having supported trade deals that were very unfavorable to workers in the 90s. Yeah. I think the difference between 2016 and 2020, when he lost Michigan to Joe Biden, is that he did have to contend with his actual record of being very anti-union. And I do think, while the general public might not be as aware of that, partly because the media isn't as interested in these kind of non-sexy labor issues, the people at those plants and on those picket lines in Michigan definitely could viscerally feel the difference. And
all right, let's go ahead. So, at the end of the day, it is beneficial for Joe Biden to do what he did. You know, of course, I'd rather have someone fake it till they make it, to fake the funk, than someone who is proactively trying to undercut the workforce, the actual working people. But my only thing is, it took Joe Biden to be behind in the polls to do something like this. It only took Joe Biden or Trump to hint or to say that he's going to go down and support the union for Biden to actually try and do something like that. It took so many things to get Joe Biden to get up and do it, to do something. Why can't we have a president who is just naturally down for the cause, down for actually working people? And that's the thing, that's the issue I have with Democrats. The elite, the structure, the system of the Democratic Party is not to produce a Bernie Sanders, a Cornel West, a Marianne, It's to produce lukewarm people like Joe Biden. And that is the problem. And that's what's going to only fuel the flames of Republican candidates, Republican leaders. You know what I'm saying? Like, Democrats are such in a good position to lead a lot of these issues if they would just get out of their own way. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like they don't want to give up the little bit that it would take to do that. They just want all of it. And to get all of it, you have to keep things simple, how they are. You know what I'm saying? So it's a plus that Joe Biden did what he did. Once again, I'm not going to take that from him. But like Bree said, the bar has been set so low. And little old Joe Biden just had to go up there for 15 minutes and just fake it until he made it. And he got some points. Like, really? That's all it takes? You know what I'm saying? So, once again, if you think I'm wrong, if you think Joe Biden really is for the American worker who's working 50, 60 hours a day, if you really think he supports these unions of getting all that they want from these car companies, let me know down in the comments. And like always, let's have that conversation.